Dear friends, so today we are here with the second part of the story Strike But Here. So, what, till, now, till now, we have left this story in the point where the first or the eldest prince was was um, telling a story to our king. So let's start the story. Early in the morning, the king called his eldest son to him and said, "If a man to whom I entrust my honor and my life prove faithless, how should he be punished?" The eldest prince replied, "Doubtless such a man's head should be cut off, but before you kill, you should see whether the man is really faithless." "What do you mean?" inquired the king. "Let your majesty be pleased to listen," answered the prince. "Once on a time there lived a goldsmith who had a grown up son, and this son had a wife who had the rare faculty of understanding the language of beasts. But neither her husband nor anyone else knew that she had this uncommon gift. One night she was lying in bed beside her husband in their house, which was close to a river, when she heard a jackal howl out, 'There goes a carcass floating on the river. Is there anyone who will take off the diamond ring from the finger of the dead man and give me the corpse to eat?' The woman understood the jackal's language, got up from bed, and went to the riverside. The husband, who was not asleep, followed his wife at some distance so as not to be observed by her. The woman went into the water, tugged the floating corpse towards the shore, and saw the diamond ring on the finger. Unable to loosen it with her hand, as the fingers of the dead body had swelled, she bit it off with her teeth and put the dead body upon land. She then went to her bed, whither she had been preceded by her husband. The young goldsmith lay beside his wife almost petrified with fear, for he concluded after what he saw that his wife was not a human being but a Rakshasi. He spent the rest of the night in tossing in his bed, and early in the morning spoke to his father in the following manner: "Father, the woman whom thou hast given me to wife is not a real woman, but a Rakshasi. Last night, as I was lying in bed with her, I heard outside the house towards the riverside a jackal set up a fearful howl. On this, she, thinking that I was asleep, got up from bed, opened the door, and went out to the riverside, surprised to see her go out alone at the dead hour of night. I suspected evil and followed her, but so that she could not see me." "What did she do you think?" "Oh, horror of horrors! She went into the stream, dragged towards the shore the dead body of a man which was floating by, and began to eat it. I saw this with mine own eyes. I then returned home while she was feasting upon the carcass, and jumped into bed. In a few minutes she also returned, bolted the door, and lay beside me. Oh, my father, how can I live with a Rakshasi? She will certainly kill me and eat me up on night." The old goldsmith was not a little shocked to hear this account. Both father and son agreed that the woman should be taken into the forest and there left to be devoured by wild beasts. Accordingly, the young goldsmith spoke to his wife thus: "My dear love, you had better not cook much this morning. Only boil rice and burn a brinjal, for I must take you today to see your father and mother, who are dying to see you. At the mention of her father's house, she became full of joy and finished the cooking in no time. The husband and wife snatched a hasty breakfast and started on their journey. The way lay through a dense jungle in which the goldsmith bethought himself of leaving his wife alone to be eaten up by wild beasts. But while they Yeah, here you see it is within the jungle. There is a serpent, and this is the young man, young goldsmith, and his wife. And I think she is digging. She is digging something, and she got some jewels, precious stones, I presume. So let's dig into the story. But while they were passing through this jungle, the woman heard a serpent hiss, the meaning of which hissing, as understood by her, was as follows: O passer-by, how thankful should I be to you if you would catch hold of that croaking frog in yonder hole, which is full of gold and precious stones, and give me the frog to swallow, and you take the gold and precious stones. The woman forthwith made for the frog and began digging the hole with a stick. The young goldsmith was now quaking with fear, thinking his Rakshasi wife was about to kill him. She called out to him and said, Husband, take up all this large quantity of gold and these precious stones. The goldsmith, not knowing what to make of it, timidly went to the place, and to his infinite surprise saw the gold and the precious stones. They took up as much as they could. On the husband's asking his wife how she came to know of the existence of all these riches, she said that she understood the language of animals, and that the snake called up hard by had informed her of it. The goldsmith, on finding out what an accomplished wife he was blessed with, said to her, My love, it has got very late today. It would be impossible to reach your father's house before nightfall, and we may be devoured by wild beasts in the jungle. I propose, therefore, that we both return home. It took them a long time to reach home, for they were laden with a large quantity of gold and precious stones. On coming near the house, the goldsmith said to his wife, My dear, you go by the back door while I go by the front door and see my father in his shop and show him all this gold and these precious stones. So she entered the house by the back door, and the moment she entered, she was met by her old goldsmith, who had come that minute into the house for some purpose with a hammer in his hand. The old goldsmith, when he saw his Rakshasi daughter in law, concluded in his mind that she had killed and swallowed up his son. He therefore struck her on the head with the hammer, and she immediately died. That moment the son came into the house, but it was too late. Hence it is that I told your Majesty that before you cut off a man's head, you should inquire whether the man is really guilty. The king then called his second son to him and said, If a man to whom I entrust my honor and my life prove faithless, how should he be punished? The second prince replied, Doubtless such a man's head should be cut off, but before you kill, you should see whether the man is really faithless. What do you mean? Inquired the king. Let your majesty be pleased to listen, answered the prince. Once on a time there reigned a king who was very fond of going out a hunting. Once while he was out hunting, his horse took him into a dense forest far from his followers. He rode on and did not see either villages or towns. He became very thirsty but he could see neither pond, lake, nor stream. At last he found something dripping from the top of a tree. Concluding it to concluding it to be rainwater which had rested in some cavity of the tree, he stood on horseback under the tree and caught the dripping contents in a small cup. It was, however, no rainwater. A huge cobra, which was on the top of the tree, was dashing in rage its fangs against the tree, and its poison was coming out and was falling in drops. The king, however, thought it was rainwater, though his horse knew better. When the cup was nearly filled with the liquid snake poison, and the king was about to drink it off, the horse, to save the life of his royal master, so moved about that the cup fell from the king's hand, and all the liquid spilled about. The king became very angry with his horse, and with his sword gave a cut to the horse's neck, and the horse died immediately. Hence it is that I told your majesty that before you cut off a man's head, you should inquire whether the man is really guilty. The king then called to him his third and youngest son, and said, if a man to whom I entrust my honor and my life prove faithless, how should he be punished? The youngest prince replied, doubtless, such a man's head should be cut off, but before you kill, you should see whether the man is really faithless. What do you mean? Inquired the king. Let your majesty be pleased to listen, answered the prince. Once on a time there reigned a king who had in his palace a remarkable bird of the shuka species. So, what happened next? What happened next? What is going to be with the king and the shuk pakhi, or the bird named shuk, or the species bird species of shuk? We will come to know in the last part of the story, which will come tomorrow. So till then, I will say be happy, be safe, and ta-da.